Welcome to the Vet SOS Veteran Educational Resources Spotlight. Remember, don't drown in the sea of transition. Grab the Vet SOS Lifeline. Vet SOS is brought to you by the Who You Know Network and a proud member of the Parade Deck community. I am here with my co-host, Dr. Hira. How are you doing today, Hira?
I'm doing very well. Excited to be learning about another wonderful school for our military community.
Absolutely. And this one's in my state, so really excited to hear about this one. So today we're sitting down with Dr. Wayne Taylor, Director of the Office of Veteran Success at University of South Florida. He is a retired US Army CW3, currently serves as Director of the Office of Veteran Success and is adjunct professor at the University of South Florida. He earned his doctorate in program development with an emphasis on education innovation, evaluation, and qualitative research from the University of South Florida back in 2022. In his role, Dr. Taylor advocates for and supports almost 9,000 military-connected students at the university. His research focuses on addressing and overcoming systemic barriers and marginalization faced by adult learners who identify as military-connected. It's a lot to say this early in the morning. Dr. Taylor's work aims to enhance the educational experiences and outcomes for these students as they transition out of the military and train they receive the necessary support and resources to succeed in higher education. Fantastic. How are you doing today, Wayne?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on, Sean. Hira, thank you so much for being here with us. Excited to be here.
This is awesome. So I'm familiar with the University of South Florida. Not one of the schools I actually applied to out of all the schools in Florida I have applied to, but very familiar with it. And my grandmother used to live down in that area. So let's start with your transition real quick. Just sort of give us a little story about how your transition went out of the military.
So I'll share that. I mean, I thought my transition was really easy. And here are the key words, thought. So when I left in 2012, I retired out of the military as an intelligence officer and was able to go to a defense contracting company, like many folks do, and was able to move into a company that was niche, focusing on human intelligence, surveillance, training for the government. So I thought it was really easy. Until one morning, about 7 years later, I woke up and realized I didn't want to go to work anymore. And I wanted to know what was wrong with me. And I'm like, all right, something is really wrong. I understand what I'm doing. I know it's helping me back to the warfighter, but why don't I want to get up? And I was volunteering with the Veterans Treatment Court at the time. And I realized that the only difference between some of the individuals going through the Veterans Treatment Court and my position was I hadn't gotten in trouble yet, or I hadn't gone down the path that they had really gone down. And so I decided, like most of us, add more to my plate. That's when I decided to start doing a doctorate. I started doing more volunteer work. I started doing all these different things. And I realized the folks in the Veterans Treatment Court, many of them had lost their purpose. And I did some self-reflection. I realized even though I'm still helping the warfighter by working for this defense contracting company, I don't have that same purpose that we had when I was in the military. And so I need to go and find that purpose again. And so at that point, I really realized that I was starting on a downward spiral and started stepping back and saying, what is important in my life? And so it was helping others, helping veterans. And this kind of leads into that aspect of, what brought me to higher ed. So while doing the doctorate, I ended up looking for a position that was going to be making an impact or a meaningful impact on other veterans. And I remembered that, I struggled a little bit going through my undergrad. I might have quit it 4 times. So I struggled with my undergrad. I ended up doing my master's right afterwards just because I lost an opportunity in the military because I didn't even have my undergrad and my master's. So I said, okay, but I didn't have anyone there as a support network to help me. So I said, okay, if I was lost, how many other individuals are lost? And so there was an opportunity at the University of South Florida as an assistant director. I applied for that. I was very fortunate to get accepted into that and was able to start bringing in a different methodology or ideology to how we care for our military connected students. Seeing that the university ended up moving me from the assistant director position on our St. Petersburg campus to leading the charge, or kind of steering the ship a little bit, if you will, for our Office of Veteran Success across all 3 campuses. So I thought it was an easy transition. What I discovered was it was not as easy as I thought. There's a ton of different other stories and turmoils and challenges I could share that many of your folks who have been on the podcast before have already shared about. But I'm able to share those experiences with our students so they know that they're not alone and have those open conversations and dialogue with them.
Yeah, that's awesome, and you really highlight something that we've talked about numerous times on the podcast, and that is the fact that transition is not just a point in time; it's an entire process, and we could go through multiple transitions. Once we leave the military, and I was career intel, and I knew before I got out and retired that I was not going into intel. So,
well, Sean, you bring a great point. One of the things that we talk about with our students is that aspect of a journey, and my associate director and I, we use Campbell's Hero's Journey. We see it in every movie, every story, book, TV show. They all have it, and we tell our students they're on multiple journeys at the same time. And we just want to be a passenger. If you let us, we just want to be a passenger in your car while you're on that journey, just to help, not be the backseat driver, but help be that navigator that's holding the map for you, just in case you don't have that GPS going.
I love that here. I love that analogy right there. I'm gonna have to steal that one.
And I mean, I think what's interesting is, again, you were talking about your pathway into higher ed started while you were a student yourself, in many ways. And I think what we hear is a lot of times people are like, yeah, I never thought of higher ed as a career. I thought of it as, I'm going to go there to get a degree, and then I move on from that. When you started to think about, I'm going to stay there, obviously working in veteran services, did you have any apprehension about, I'm choosing this industry, so to speak? Because it is kind of very different than what a lot of veterans end up pursuing, getting out, even yourself, when you compared to your first role you had.
Absolutely. So I think one of the challenges, and I do have students who now have gone on to different positions in higher ed, whether it be with our institution or with others. It's exciting to see. It's interesting to hear them as they call back and looking for advice or recommendations, or I did not know this. And I'm like, okay, all right, well, I try sharing with you. I think understanding that it's academia is a truly different culture than what you experience in the corporate world, you experience as an entrepreneur, as you experience just as a student. So it's a whole different culture that you're dealing with. And for our office, and I use words we more than I use I believe it's a team. It takes a village to actually make something work and take care of our students. You shared in the intro, roughly 9,000. I'm very upset. This fall, we were about 8,516. So it came down a little bit, but we also know that the students transition. There's different ups and downs that they go through in life, and sometimes they take a little bit of a pause. So we support 8,516 students and try to meet with as many of them as we can. We try to share with them what the benefits are of going to an institution, and if our institution is not the right one, then it's kind of like go somewhere where you feel that this is where you want to be. I've had someone come to me about an aeronautics program. I'm like, I don't have that, but I'm going to get you connected with Embry-Riddle, so this way you can get connected to them or get connected to another university. I had a student from Orlando who's going to drive to Tampa every day to come to class because his girlfriend graduated from USF and he wanted to be part of the same alma mater. I'm like, this is ridiculous. You need to go to UCF, and let me get you connected to my partner over there, and so you can go to there. So it's not about just coming to our institution. It's coming to an institution that's actually going to advocate for you and take care of you. And so kind of your question here, it's like a whole different aspect, but it's learning how to navigate those nuances.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I wouldn't drive from Orlando to Tampa to go to school on I-4. That's craziness. Okay, so what kind of things are you guys specifically doing on campus? Like, do you have a veteran center set up? Are you running specific events? What kind of things are you doing for the veteran population and the military affiliated population?
So, Sean, I'm going to say yes, yes, and yes. Yes to everything. One of the things we can look at doing programming, and a lot of universities and colleges look at the programming that they're doing. We're looking at having a center. So yes, we have a center. We have dedicated study space, a dedicated computer lounge. I mean, we are fortunate that the university, our president, really supports the idea of being military inclusive, not just military friendly, because we know everyone says that, Veterans Day, Memorial Day, oh, we're military friendly. We're going to go and give you a 10% discount. Okay, whatever. So we've had that conversation with our leadership. And our President Law, is all about being military connected inclusive. All right, what are we doing, not just from programming, but to our policies that we have at the institution? which gave us the bandwidth to have conversations with our government relations folks and speak with our legislators. So, Sean, as you're in the state of Florida, one of the things that we have done is, we are one of 3 states that have the Purple Star Collegiate Program across the United States. So Ohio, Indiana, and Florida are the only 3 states right now that have that. So we were to get that legislation pushed, and that's that aspect of advocacy. So we can do our, November 9th, we'll have our Salute to Service game going on against Navy. So, we'll be cheering on USF Bulls, even though I've got a bunch of Navy folks inside our office, but I'm going to convince them to still wear the green. But so we have tailgates, we do monthly potlucks, we use a care model. We asked our students, what is it that they want? It's been a while. I mean, even though I'm still a student, I'm going back for a 2nd degree just because I'm crazy. But, we asked the students, my associate director and I, we asked our students, what is it you want? And we sat down and talked with them and found out that they wanted a couple key things. They wanted community, which we all know is important that we need to have. They wanted the university, faculty, and staff to have awareness that we are a different population. We rely on that, respect, that honor. So we look at things differently when we go into a classroom. I use post-traditional versus non-traditional because non has that little bit of a negative mindset already, but that post-traditional, that we're post-traditional students. We've been out of high school for a while, so we don't understand some of the things, but we want the professors to understand. Recognition. Napoleon's one who said it best about, okay, if I give someone a ribbon, they're going to charge that hill. But they want that recognition for their academic work, and they need that. And oftentimes they say they don't want any recognition. We know that they want it. And so it's trying to recognize the highlights of what they're doing. So different events, we do a huge blowout grad celebration at the end of the year where we have a big party DJ and they get their red, white, and blue cords before going out for graduation. Nice. Yeah. Community partners and corporate partners come in and they're serving the food and they're donating and they're just connecting with our students on a regular basis. So we have that. So it's recognition, encouragement. They need that encouragement to continue forward because sometimes challenges in life, post-traditional students, you've got a family at home, you've got other things that are going on. You're not that 18-year-old where a parent may be paying for you to go to school. So you have all these other challenges, and knowing that, okay, if you need to take a semester off, we can work with you. So you can take that semester off. You need an internship, you need a job. We're going to help connect you to those resources, whether it be locally, nationally, or in a different region. We're going to get you connected to make sure that you have what you need. And then support. Everyone needs a little bit of support. It's not always about, and I've listened to the podcast where, it's not about always giving that helping hand of, really lifting up. It's here's that hand. I'm going to help guide you and show you the way. And that's where we ask them to be a passenger in their car so we can help leverage that support and point them in the direction. We bring in all of our campus resources to introduce our students in two transition courses, one transition into the university. Well, most people think of a librarian as the Dewey Decimal System, and they're just these people putting books on the shelves anymore. And I'm like, no, these librarians are like data, geniuses, and they're going to help you guide. And we bring them in so they can turn around and like, wow, I didn't know a librarian can help me with this. Hey, we've got these different resources for your writing, for math, because it's been a little while since we've done calculus or something like that, or stat. So we bring different resources in just to have that programming. We open our doors on Thanksgiving. So places closed, but one of the things that I recognize is that people feel alone. They may not be able to go home for Thanksgiving because it's only that short couple days, but they'll go home for the large, December break for Christmas and the holiday break there. So my associate director, Dr. Renee Amboy, and I decided one year that we're just going to open our doors on Thanksgiving Day, cook some food, and we shared with our staff that this is what we're doing. The next thing we knew, we had a ton of staff coming in, bringing food so we could have this huge potluck for any student who was on campus. Next year, we had corporate and community partners coming in and doing the same thing. So every year we just open it up for Thanksgiving because I don't want anyone to feel alone and end up in that spiral. So there's just a few of those things, but I'll stop there. I mean, I know we've got time.
That's huge. That is huge right there. I really, really like that. Here, we're already running out of time.
We are. We typically kind of our final question is usually, tell our audience why they may want to choose USF for their educational journey. I feel like what you just shared really hit those why points, when you're looking for community, reduced isolation, endless resources. So I don't know if there's any other tidbit you want to add before we close out, but it sounds wonderful.
If I can, I'll share one thing for
Sure.
anyone who's thinking of going back for education. Yes, I'm a part of University of South Florida. Love for you to come here and meet with our team. We'll sit down and talk to anyone about anything. We go out to National Guard units, to reserve units, just talk to them about how to use benefits, make sure they're using the benefits properly and they're getting that advantage. But I challenge anyone who goes to school, go talk to that Veteran Resource Center that's on that campus. Make sure it's a good fit for you. Make sure that they're going to take care of you. Find a Purple Star Collegiate School. We have more states that are trying to go down that path, but find someone who's really going to care for you and be there on that journey. Even if you think you don't need them, they just need to know that they're available for them. They can be an advocate. Hurricane season comes up and you get called out for National Guard or reserve orders. You need to know that the university is going to stop and freeze everything in place for you to make sure that you're taken care of. So, I mean, I use that just because hurricane season here in Florida, but go talk to the resource center before you actually decide to get admitted to a university.
Great. Yeah. Well, thank you, Dr. Taylor, for joining us on Vet SOS today. On behalf of the Vet SOS family, we'd like to thank everyone for joining us. You can find Vet SOS podcast on all your favorite podcast platforms, YouTube and social media platforms. And remember, do not drown in the sea of transition. Grab the Vet SOS lifeline.